feels good to beat y'all. Yeah, beat y'all.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to Beats Per Minute podcast, where hip hop, health, and matters of the heart are all in sync. I am your host, Miss Thurzday. I'm a registered nurse and a certified hip hop head. And on this platform, we like to celebrate our hip hop legends. We like to give education about health issues, and we also like to elevate conversations about matters of the heart, such as healing and grief and all types of stuff. So we want to thank you for joining in. And today I am super excited because I have my big brother from another. I can't even get into like how crazy it is that, when my brother passed, how many people he left to just watch over me. So before I get all emotional and all that, let me just go ahead and just, say what's up to my big brother, Lee Robinson, aka DJ Viciously of the Death Four. I'm gonna let him tell you what that's all about. But what's up, bro? How you doing today?
I am fantastic, sis. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. We are both repping our
Oh yeah.
DJ Ready Red
Oh yeah. That's it.
Rappamania t-shirts today.
Oh
We
yeah.
twins, twinning.
Yeah.
It feels like a million years ago since I was able to do the workshop in my hometown of Trenton, New Jersey, and it was very surprised to be able to have met you then, and
hmm
and realize that I had no idea of the entire Rap a Lot history. So I want to go back to the beginning, right? And I want to just kind of let the people know how that even started. Like, because you're not from Houston, just like Red wasn't from Houston. So where did the bug bite you for hip hop, and how did it land you in Houston?
Okay. Um, the bug started, I guess, in New York. I have had a stepfather, rest in peace, Dr. Freddie Brown, who was also a great fan of DJ Really Red. He was one of his favorite people, actually, of my friends. But he was a DJ in New York, and that's where I got introduced to just old school music and the stuff that ended up becoming breakbeats were
Mm-hmm.
music he was playing on a regular basis just as a club DJ and street DJ.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the bug bit me. I also have an uncle who was actually doing the same exact thing in New York, kind of parallel to my stepfather. So
Mm-hmm.
the bug was there.
The bug was there. So you're in New York and
Yes.
learning about hip hop, and the beginning, going back to the break beats, and then that whole movement of as we are going into the celebration of the hip hop
Yeah.
anniversary. And then how old are you when you moved down south?
I moved to Houston in 1986. I was
Mm,
26 years old.
okay.
Um, so my 13, we're talking the 70s, early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So I first got bit by the bug then and became a DJ through the 70s, the late 70s, into the 80s, which brought me to Houston. My brother was DJing at a club down here, and he was like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
come on down, I need your help." So I wasn't doing anything. I was in Philly at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and still DJing with a group called Galaxy Five. Um, moved to Houston. We started DJing in clubs, and one day Red walked in to the club we were DJing at.
Mm-hmm.
He had on a leather jacket with King Funk Disco on the back and a record, and a raccoon hat like Daniel Boone. And me and my brother looked at each other like, he not from here. He's not from here. And he came right to the DJ booth, like, and that's how we met.
Mm.
And we were semi-privy to what you were going through at the time when he came down and that whole situation, which I'm not gonna get
Well,
into.
see, okay, wait, hold on. That wasn't me, because
That was
mind
your
you, I
sister.
was in elementary school.
That
That
was
was
your
my
sister.
sister Tim.
Okay. Tim, right.
Yeah, not
Okay.
me. I'm not the
Because
sister that brought him there.
Reggie was back and forth between being with us and being with Kim and that
Mm-hmm.
whole situation. But we always had his back. Whenever you need us, bro, just like, no, I got it. And as you know, he took care of it. Big
Mm-hmm.
brother that he is.
He was something. So,
and so at that point is when we formed what became the Deaf Four.
mm-hmm.
It was Red, myself, my brother Eric, and Prince Easy C, who is now DJ Peter Parker.
Okay.
And we were just kind of messing around. Red had his drum machine. My stepfather had a dining room full of records and 2 turntables in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
So that became where we started to work on Deaf 4 music. But we weren't known, we hadn't come up with a name yet. We were just some guys that weren't from Houston that were working on hip hop together.
Gotcha.
But Red
A
was
lot of
family.
people don't realize back then that was a big thing. I was able to interview DJ Clientele last month, and we talked a little bit about how there was a lot of groups of DJs that would form these crews, and that was basically what World Class Wrecking Crew was it was a group of DJs, and then you might have one on a mic. Can you talk a little bit more about how that would work? Like
The Deaf 4 was exactly
people
that.
think competition, but it was like, no, y'all would work together.
Right. It's exactly how it worked. We were technically a group of DJs with one guy who decided to step out and write rhymes and rap. But in our shows, he was included in the DJ tricks that we would do. Because we didn't have hit records, whenever we performed, we had to perform and entertain because no one knew our song.
Right.
Whereas at that point, the Ghetto Boys were known, so people knew their songs, they would sing along. But nobody knew our stuff wasn't out yet. So on our promo tour, we were basically trick DJs. So we did DJ tricks, we did round robins. We might do a dance routine that included a lot of DJ stuff and me on beats. And we'd let the dancers go. But it was hard being a group of DJs and one guy being able to step out into the forefront. Because he always wanted to come back on the turntable.
Gotcha.
And
that
to
makes
this day, he's still a DJ. So I guess, when you become a DJ, you're a DJ for life.
Mm-hmm. So just going back just real quick.
Okay.
You guys meet, y'all form what would become the Deaf Four. And if I understand correctly, some of the music that y'all created was actually what kind of got DJ Red and you guys signed to Rap A Lot. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It did. When we went to talk to Jay, because Prince Easy C had done the scratches on the original Ghetto Boy record.
That's Car Freeze.
He was basically, right, Car Freeze.
Okay.
The scratches, even though they spelled the word wrong on the album cover, on the single cover, Easy C was the DJ for the original Ghetto Boys.
Okay.
K9, Jukebox, Raheem. So we had to kind of end at Rap a Lot through C. We did a song called Outlaw, and which Red was totally instrumental in doing. It was done on his 909, and that's basically what it was. And with some DJ stuff added on top of it, where what we would do is we pattern out the drum pattern. Me and Red would work on the drum pattern and build the drum pattern out to the song. Then we would get on the turntables and literally cut in the samples. All the samples on our demos were done on turntables. We didn't have a sampler. We didn't have FEC or SP12. We didn't have any of that stuff until way late. So all our stuff was done basically on drum machine and DJ. So all the melodies, bass lines were all played by a DJ on top of a 909 drum beat. So we played the song today, and he had these 560 Mercedes with crazy sound systems in it. And he played the song, and Outlaw came on, and it went boom, boom, boom. And it was like, oh man, he's like, who? So that's how he was introduced to Red. Red did the beat. At that point, he's like, Ghetto Boys need a DJ. Because now he sees that C is now part of a group and wasn't going to be able to be the Ghetto Boys DJ. So, well, y'all a whole group of DJs. Y'all can't spare one? And that's basically, and so Red was like, because he had done the beat, Jay kind of pulled him aside and was like, hey, how you feel about being the Ghetto Boys DJ?
Gotcha.
He never gave Jay an answer until he came back and talked to her. And what he said was, he's like, look, I got us an in. He said, we knew what the situation was with Kim. You know, that was at that point, things were kind of volatile, and he was between where he was going to stay, whether he was going to stay with us, with Kim. So they offered him a place to stay at the lot and started buying him equipment. So we were like, go ahead. He was like, don't worry. As soon as something opened up, y'all going to be the first to know. And to DJ Ready Red as the Ghetto Boy teacher. That happened at the car lot on Shepherd Avenue.
Gotcha. And so from there, and even, you know, once you guys make your album, how long were you like a part of the Rap A Lot family? You know, and I mean, did you ever leave, or like you still consider part of?
We put out the Nice and Hard album in '88. In 1988. By 1990, when the A&M deal fell through, because the only reason Rap A Lot really opened the books for commercial artists, which was us and Royal Flush, was the deal they had with A&M with Raheem. When that deal fell through, because I'm not going to place any blame on why it fell through, but the deal fell through.
Right.
And Rap A Lot had already signed us and started working on our music. Well, now they don't have the A&M distribution and promotion machine that they had in place for Raheem. So they pull back and go, okay, we're just going to put this stuff out and see what it does, because we no longer have the A&M machine behind it. We sold maybe 50,000 copies with no promotion, no distribution, no nothing. And then what happened was the Ghetto Boys started to gain traction. And but the traction was all for them. It was like everything that came about was all done for the Ghetto Boys, which was fine because that's where the interest was. There was no interest in the rest of us on like the Deaf American deal came for the Ghetto Boys. That we couldn't argue with that. That was a thing that came for the Ghetto Boys. Rick Rubin wanted them, so we couldn't argue with. Oh man, well, what about us? We knew where we stood because of what had happened. So about 1990, we opted to leave the label.
Okay.
And at that point, we got picked up by a guy who had become our management while we were still with Rap-A-Lot, because we felt that being signed to Rap-A-Lot, managed by Jazz Management, and published by In the Water Music was a total conflict of interest. How can our management negotiate a better deal with our record label when they are the same people?
Right.
How can our management negotiate us a better publishing deal with our publishing company when our publishing company and management company are the same people? So in order to kind of put a wedge in there and keep things above board, we opted for another manager. And they didn't have a problem with that. We actually had no problems at all with that between
that's good.
and leaving the label. I think they might have claimed that we owed them maybe about $26,000, but come to find out that was because C had been getting money from them. And we didn't know about. Like none of the rest of us got any money from the company.
Gotcha.
You know, but between the bill for recording the record and production, you know, all the stuff that the record label gets to recoup was what I thought was what the bill was, but it seems that I guess C had gotten some money to get his car fixed or something like that. So a couple $1,000.
Gotcha. So once you guys moved to the other situation, then what you kind of been doing like in the background with music and everything to present, if you will?
Well, okay, 1990, my brother and I left during the summer of 90, and he stayed. I came back in about October. And that's when I found out that Doug and B2 had been looking for me to run a studio that they were opening called BPM, Beats Per Minute. That's the time. Shameless plug. So I began to work in the studio with Doug and B2. At some point, they split off. B2 goes to do his own thing. Doug keeps BPM with me basically running the engineering and production.
Okay.
I think when Face and them came in and they began to work on the We Can't Be Stopped album, it was done at BPM Production. So it was me and Red in the pre-production studio, and we did 70 hours. They blocked a 100-hour block. I got paid up front because I knew how these guys worked. I was like, no, I need my money. If y'all getting all y'all money, the guys who ran the studio at that point in time, I need my money now, and I'll be here for every hour. And I went there for everything they did. We did a pre-production album, and bang, that's what came from it. Then they took it into, there was a 24-track studio in the building behind ours. And that's where they went and did the final mix and everything like that. And that's where Red did it. He did scratches on the album. That's where all of that happened at.
Gotcha.
Records go out, Ghetto Boys blow up, and 93, I leave Houston and go back
Mm-hmm.
east.
Mm-hmm.
And we're there. It was on the East Coast until 2019 when I moved back to Houston now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you guys actually, 93 was around the time that Colin started coming back home.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until like maybe 95 that's when he came back, for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, ended up moving to San Jose, but it was like almost around the same time that you guys left.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because once I moved to Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
because when I initially left in 93, I moved back to Brooklyn,
Okay.
but I didn't stay long. I ended up moving back to Philadelphia with my oldest daughter's mother, and we tried to redo. So Red was coming to see me in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
We were hanging out in Philly. Matter of fact, one of the times he was when he lost his truck. Remember when they
Yeah.
down in Philly visited me,
Oh,
and
wow.
around the corner doing something. Well, he wasn't doing nothing. He had no business doing. He was around the corner visiting
People.
a mutual friend of ours.
Okay.
It was a friend of mine before it was a friend of Red's, but once they met, they became better friends. And
That
I was
sound, that sound real Donnie Brasco-ish.
yeah.
But I know it's not the same.
It was messed up because like somebody broke in his truck and
Mhm.
stole some CDs. So he called the insurance company about the window, and
Yeah.
I guess he forgot that he hadn't been paying the note. So when they got the location of the truck from
Yeah, it's like, okay,
the insurance
let me get
company, yeah, let me get that.
that. Yeah, that was a sad time for him, boy.
Yeah, oh man, and it was in the middle of the night, like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So he called me, he's like, yo, somebody stole my truck. So now I got to get up out of bed because he's in Philly and stuck without a vehicle. He wasn't that far from me, but far enough, like it wasn't walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get up and go get mine. And got him back to Jersey. Then he realized what happened.
But
He started. He thought about the mistake he made when he called it. He's like, oh, that's right. Yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. And that's all they did was take some CDs. He just and broke the window. So I guess he was thinking, oh, I got to get my window fixed. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. So what have you been up to lately?
Well, I've been doing live sound now for about on a consistent basis, maybe the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've done other little spatterings of stuff, but the main thing has been doing live sound.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm an audio engineer at the House of Blues in Houston, and I usually work the music hall, which is the big room, and I also do sound at a club called Rockefeller City.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a studio that I could probably create a masterpiece in. I don't really have a lot of time to be in here, but it's here.
I know that, oftentimes when we catch up, I know that you still are, very much in contact with a lot of, the members of the Ghetto Boys and, original and, present, and that you do a lot of work with, Scarface. Can you talk a little bit about what you kind of do with him?
Um, on occasion, I am Scarface's monitor engineer when he goes out live. I also am a consultant, I guess. Yeah, we'll call it. I'm a consultant to him. When it comes to studio setup and the programs and making sure everything is just wired together and so that you can just go in there, press a button, and start recording. So I just did some of that for him a couple of weeks ago. He's got a new studio here in Houston that I think he's going to be letting his kids kind of bring in new talent and use them as kind of the A&R department, and he's kind of training them to work in the studio. Scarface plays all kinds of instruments, so kids are pretty talented too. Some of them.
Really cool.
We have the youngest boy, I think, plays guitar. He actually performed with us at one of the shows we did at House of Blues.
Nice.
On one of Scarface shows.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted you to kind of bring it up, because I think sometimes when we hear the different stories, we don't think about, like, especially those beginning days of rap a lot, like how tight knit all of you guys had to be and become, because y'all were all working so hard to actually make it happen. Like, many of you guys were from the East Coast and was in a new region that was not on the map and was not, nobody was trying to hear what the South had to say even. And, and so, I know from even talking with Doug King, he talked about, how, you guys really were a family back then, because y'all were like really getting it in the mud. Like y'all really came through the trenches, together.
There's a book out that lists all the college radio stations that play rap music. The book wasn't so big back in 87, 88, 89, but we did have a listing of every radio station in America and what type of music they played. We went through all of those books and called every radio station there was that would even think about playing. And this was just for the Ghetto Boys. Initially, this was just initially for the Ghetto Boys. But this was all of us. This was us, Royal Flush, Raheem and his crew. Because he had a DJ and Shakim. Shakim was like his hype man. And DJ was DJ Venom, who was also not from Houston. He was from LA, come to find out. The original DJ Venom. And then they got this other guy because Raheem mentions him on record as his DJ name is Venom. Whoever his DJ was had to be DJ Venom. So, but the original DJ Venom was a guy named Andre from LA. And him and Red were real tight too. Matter of fact, he took me, Red, my brother, out to his grandfather or something has property on the Colorado River. Took us out hunting for squirrel and rabbits and we had a good time.
Gotcha. I am always amazed at how, like, your brother was there. I know Pete was there for a little while, our big brother. Johnny C had his brother there. Like, it was really like just like extended family of family, a lot of times, even dealing with, with James Prince and like, his, Miss Mary, doing so much in the, like, so it just seemed like it was always just such a big family situation where the entire family kind of got involved in a lot of, a lot of the
And pretty much
business.
everything. Yeah, Mary Jane was our art director.
Mhm.
She she took the pictures that are on our album cover. Rode around with us finding locations and also helped style us
Mhm.
somewhat to some extent. So yeah, everybody kind of got in and got
It was,
down and dirty, like
yeah.
whatever you had to do.
So from your standpoint coming into Rap a Lot, talk to me about like how important Keith Jukebox Rogers is to Houston's hip hop history.
Fox was one of the originals, and the Ghetto Boys probably wouldn't have. They would have made a Ghetto Boys just because of. I don't even know if it would have been a Ghetto Boys, just because that was Jay's vision. But it was, of course, he did it because of K9. But I think it was Jukebox and them's talent that made him really go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was going to be with Jukebox, I figured that he thought that it was going to work because he saw something in Box that
Mm-hmm.
um, other people didn't see or nobody chose to notice, I guess. And he was instrumental, in, I believe, in what became the Ghetto Boys. He is the original Ghetto Boy to me.
Yeah. I think it was, as an outsider looking in, coming from, growing up north
Mm-hmm.
and not really even understanding what Collins and them were doing, in Houston and how big that was, because of course when he left, I was in elementary school and, and as things were like happening, we're not seeing it because there's no social media, there's no, everything took a while, even back then, if um the magazines and stuff like that, the article may be a month before you actually see it. And so, for me, the first time I saw my brother on TV was, on Yo MTV Raps. They were playing, Do It Like a Geo. And it was like, okay, maybe he is telling the truth type of thing. He sent the records home and he told us don't open it and don't listen to it. And we didn't. We were not allowed. And the first time I really heard, and I haven't listened to everything, but the first time I actually heard a lot more of the Ghetto Boys music was after he passed away. Because he said, don't listen, I didn't listen.
Have you
So
ever listened to Assassins?
I did. I did listen to Assassin because the funny thing was he when he made the first trip back home after they
Mm-hmm.
did that album, I would hear it a little bit. I had never heard the full song all the way out, but I had heard it a little bit. And, in Balls of My Word, like it was only like little snippets that I had heard, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Yeah, he really kept a lot of that so separate. And the funny thing is
For
that
good reason.
yeah. I actually did not know. It's just crazy. I always thought when I've heard like the snippets of even Why Do We Live This Way, I actually thought that was Flashing Them because it
Uh-huh.
sounded like, but I never knew that that was actually Collins until like people
Mm-hmm.
kept bringing it up when he passed, and I'm like, why? You know what I mean? And then I was like, wow, that was him. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know because he really did like I have never heard is it the Love Rap by Spoonie G?
Uh-huh.
I have never heard it and I'm 48 years old because my brother said I could not listen to it.
You can listen to Love Rap. Now.
I still,
You just
I
do
find
it.
myself, if it happens to, come in one of my mixes, I turn it off still.
Do you have Sirius XM radio?
I'm pretty sure I've heard worse than what was said at this point in my life, but it's just still the
Listen to
fact.
Rock the Bells. You hear it on Rock the Bells.
I know, and I
And if they
quit
can
wrong.
play, they'll play one of it. No, don't fast forward. Love Rap was a really good song. It's kind of long, but it was a good
But that
song.
was,
But
mind you, this is the person that used to make me pay to get into his room. So I have no reason. I have no idea why I couldn't. If he just said, "Don't listen to
there's
it."
nothing wrong with Love Rap. Matter of fact, hold on. I think
No, no, I'm plugging my ears.
Ain't no plug in your ears.
Yeah, don't get me in trouble. You know,
You,
a lightning strike or something.
you're 48 years old.
Anyway, so I did want to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to talk to you about you know um a major health scare that you went through a couple years ago, when we're all coming out of the pandemic, that if you want to say we've came out of it, but
Yeah.
going through 2021 and 2021. Yeah, it's like, okay, now you're hit with a cancer scare. Can you, talk to me a little bit about that? What they, when you found out, how you found out, were you having any symptoms?
Okay. Beginning of 20, I noticed a sore that wouldn't heal.
Mm,
And at that point, we were kind of new here. We moved back to Houston in 2019.
mm-hmm,
And I didn't have any medical coverage yet. My wife was working um, temp positions, and she kept changing until 2020 when she started to work for the county commissioner's office. But that started as a temp position also in the beginning of 2020. So I noticed this sore that doesn't heal in about January, February. Pandemic hits, we get locked out of House of Blues. I'm still kind of dealing with this one. Wonder what this is. It's not, you know. So she gets hired on permanently to the county, which gave her medical benefits.
mm-hmm.
Now we're covered. Now I can go to the doctor and find out what's going on. So I go to the doctor, show the doctor the wound that won't heal, and he goes, I don't know what that is. This is the primary care physician.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Says, I'm going to send you to a urologist. Maybe he can figure it out. Go to the urologist. He looks at it. He goes, I don't know what that is. I've never seen anything like that before.
Wow.
All right. He said, but I'm going to do a biopsy just to check and make sure. So we do a biopsy. And it comes up as small cell squamous. It's a form of skin cancer.
Mm-hmm. Small cell squamous
Squamous,
carcinoma.
yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's in the penile region.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been going to urologists, and so the urologist does the biopsy, comes up with the cancer, and he says, this is very rare. I'm going to refer you to MD Anderson Hospital. There's a doctor who just happens to be a black male doctor who is the expert on this. And so I go and meet Dr. Curtis Petaway at MD Anderson, and they set me up on a chemo regimen of I go in on Monday, get out on Thursday. They start the chemo Monday night, like 1 o'clock Tuesday morning, and it runs until Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 or 5 o'clock, I get to go home. And then 3 weeks later, I do the same thing. I did that for six sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go for 6 months. So that was through 20 and 21. It took me out of the end of 20 into mid 21.
Mm-hmm.
Everything shrank or disappeared. And they put me on every 3 months. I go and get a CAT scan, CT scan, and a MRI of the affected areas. And so far, things have been moving in the right direction, I guess is the best way to put it. It's not gone. It'll probably never be gone. But as long as it's not being intrusive or it's already spread to the lung, but the lung lesion is the smallest one there is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been steadily shrinking.
Okay.
So it did metastasize, which put me at quote unquote stage 4.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, I can work a full day's work. The chemo did give me some neuropathy in my feet. But all in all, I think I came out on the other side pretty good. I did have to go back in and do another 5 week. This was different. This was outpatient, where I still have a power cord. So they gave me like a fanny pack with chemo in it that I wore from Monday to Friday. They wanted me to put it on Monday, take it off on Friday. I go through the weekend. But mind you, I was also doing chemo every day during the week also. And that made stuff shrink even more. So.
Okay. Going through that process, did they, once they found out what it was, did they tell you like what could potentially make you at risk for that type of cancer or anything like that?
HPV, the human papillomavirus.
Okay.
Good question. If you have children above the age of 12, get them vaccinated, male or female. If you are under 45 years old yourself, get vaccinated for HPV. It causes penile cancer in males and cervical cancer in females. And I'm here to tell you, it's no fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no warning, but except for you just
Nope.
had a sort of.
Didn't even know. I'm one of those people who didn't go to the doctor a lot. Like, I didn't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. The only thing wrong with me is there's some cancer cells in my body. But other than that, I'm pretty healthy.
Okay.
But
and
it just came out of nowhere.
When you were talking about MD Anderson, just for the people that don't know, MD Anderson is a cancer. It's a hospital that specializes in cancer treatments. They are like literally the authority on dealing with various types of cancer and providing so much information out there about prevention, about treatment, about the symptoms to look for. We have one here in Florida, and it's definitely the place. Yeah, you definitely want to, you know, look them up when, there's any kind of concern or you want, real information about what to look for, when it comes to certain cancers. Yeah. So,
While we're on cancer and MD Anderson, um, I want to talk about medical insurance.
mhm,
Um, that can be the life or death of a person.
mhm,
And I'm saying that because I watched Bushwick Bill pass away from pancreatic cancer,
mhm,
which 90% of the times is already a death sentence. But the fact that he could not get into MD Anderson, I believe, had a lot to do with how fast he went.
mhm,
And one of there's a friend of mine who's also from New York, came to Houston years ago. We were friends 30 years ago. They were friends with Red, the Spence sisters, and one of them works at MD Anderson, and attempted to get Bill in under any type of program because he did not have medical insurance in that
mhm.
industry, and it just couldn't, it didn't happen. And I want to say within a month and a half, Bill was gone.
Mm.
Say that MD Anderson would have been a save for him, but it was his best chance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because of, because he did not have the correct medical insurance, I believe that he would have been here a little longer
Yeah.
than he was.
Yeah. Pancreatic cancer is definitely one of those, ones that I've just seen in practice. People generally do go fast, but that, of course, not knowing exactly when Bill was first diagnosed to when he
Right.
did pass it, it did seem very fast. It can be a extremely painful, diagnosis as well. So it's really sad to hear that. And which brings me to my next question. What are your thoughts on, the Hip Hop Alliance and what they're trying to do so that, artists such as Bill and yourself are covered and have some health coverage for, when these type of things come up? Because I mean, at the end of the day, if we're celebrating 50 years in hip hop, that means some of the artists are at least 50 and over. And, and it's,
some,
you
some of us are 60 and older.
exactly.
I ain't
So
gonna
how
raise
important
my hand,
is that
but
play, for us to get some type of alliance together so that, we can make sure
there,
that these people are covered?
there's definitely room and a place for that. Especially like I said with what I just saw happen with Bill, and even my own thing. Like, I mean, y'all call me a legend, and I've got some stories from years ago, but there are some people who are out here really who have done a lot more to me for hip hop than I have, that I feel should be compensated in some way, and it's just no platform for that. So the
Mm-hmm.
alliance is definitely needed. Um, I guess none of us thought we were going to make it to our 60s. We were all told we weren't going to be able to get Social Security.
Mm.
I'm getting Social Security, y'all. Um, and as of this year, I am now getting Medicare, and my Medicare Advantage plan still affords me to be able to go to MD Anderson.
Nice.
But the only reason I was able to get Medicare was because I paid into Social Security.
Mhm.
and into Medicare through other venues, not through necessarily through the music
Mhm.
side of my work career. Um, so that's where that alliance would really come in handy to bridge the gap between the music industry and the medical insurance industry,
Right.
because there's no bridge between those two.
Mhm.
Labels are probably taking out $1 million policies on rappers now,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's their health that they're concerned with.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put this much money into, making a record for you, and you're talking about guns and drugs and misogynistic stuff, you're not going to be here long. I might as well insure my investment. And I'm sure a lot of these rappers that are getting killed have been overly insured for life and death, but
Mhm.
not for but not for
Right.
medical. So, and the
Yeah.
record labels aren't going to do it. So we're going to have to do it as the artists, and management are going to have to start looking at those things. Um, and I think that's probably where the Hip Hop Alliance needs to focus more, is on informing management people
Mhm.
how to really take care of your artists. But
Mhm.
then it's like, well, how shady are the managers if they're not that concerned about their artists' health and well-being?
Right.
You're talking about all these people that I mean, look at like Chris Cross. Like, one of them had like sickle cell and TLC, and none of that. They were like, how are we gonna that almost bankrupted them,
Yeah.
having to deal with medical issues, even as big stars. Like,
Mm.
you're selling records, and you can be bankrupt because you got to go to the hospital for sickle cell.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's definitely something that's definitely needed, been needed.
Been needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember, I'm a big, Wu Tang fan, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad that
Mm-hmm.
the saga is over. But
Is it?
yeah, as they say, I'm praying that that's not true. I
You
need,
talking about the show or
yeah, the show.
the show? Okay.
Yeah. But there was an episode, where they this kind of comes up,
Right.
one of the members comes and they're like, oh, why are you taking out for this, that, and he's like, I'm taking out for life insurance, for health insurance, blah blah blah. And I thought it was just kind of crazy. Just, I mean, they're forward thinking, just period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a crew was totally different,
Right.
because you didn't hear that with anybody else, that they was like, oh yeah, like like we're running this like a real business. We trying to make sure y'all are covered. We trying to make sure y'all are good. And it just really shows like the difference between the way
That's
that
what I mean about
they were
good
thinking.
management.
Hmm.
He That's what a good manager does.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, the guys, like you said, they question, well, why you take, what is FICA, and what? Look, I'm making sure y'all don't have to pay taxes.
Hmm.
Y'all don't get jammed up on some tax stuff, and y'all got medical coverage. You want to go to the doctor? Go ahead.
Right. Right.
Because,
Whew. Yeah,
but
because
that's
it
what I'm hoping.
definitely
Also,
it
a
could be
lot
an
of
issue.
Yeah, I haven't had medical insurance for over 40 years of my life,
Mm.
and it's just until recently that I would even, if I wasn't in a car accident, I didn't go to the hospital. But if I was in a car accident, I'm going to the ER, get that insurance money.
Hmm.
But that's what time I went to the doctor, and they look at me and go, "You're absolutely healthy. Your neck just hurts, or your back hurts, or whatever from the accident. But blood pressure will be fine. no sugar, and then one day you look up and you find out you got cancer. And you go,
Right.
well, where did that come from? Oh. And to just touch back on HPV,
Mm-hmm.
it is a sexually transmitted disease. So anybody that's watching this that thinks you out there getting it, you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the
Easily.
stuff you don't want, you can't get.
Yeah, but these things are important to have these conversation, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you have been open and honest and transparent. One of the important things for me for um the podcast is to not just talk about anything, but to, really bring real information and have these type of conversations that would help others. And for this, for June being Men's Health Month, I wanted to start this out with you and be able to give you the platform to share your story, and also hopefully help someone else from going through it, or they'll know exactly what to tell their primary care doctor if they notice something like this. Hey, I need you to do this right, and we need to do it right now, because
Yeah.
that is a very truthful situation that you spoke of. Like, most primary care doctors will not know what it might be, but
Right.
thankfully yours was, just say, okay, well, at least let me send you to the urologist, because that's not my specialty. In the medical field, a lot of times we're seeing um, that most primary or internal medicine doctors, your family doctor, they are very quick to give you a referral to a specialist. And a lot of people might not want to go because that specialist cost is going to be a lot more. You got to wait for authorization, all that. But it's the reason why you need to go see that specialist. They specialize in that area. They're going to be the ones that's going to be able to give you the exact treatment that you need. And so you don't want to just be like, oh well, I'm not going to worry about it. And like you said, men, a lot of times you guys are not the best about going on a regular basis until you have to.
I raise my hand and say I'm one of those guys.
Yeah. And
I
and
stay away
we
from.
know why. There's a lot of um you know you're working hard, you're whatever, some people can't afford insurance. Like you said, it was, you were without health insurance for 40 years, and that's during your working years, the years that you're probably doing the most work than you ever have or have to at this point. And and that's a lot of men. You're working hard, you're working 2 and 3 jobs, and you're not even making sure that the body that you're using to create wealth is still in working order. And we have to get that right. It shouldn't take something major for you to go get checked out, and a lot of times it's fear as well. You don't want to hear that something's wrong,
No.
but that's when
If I don't take the test, I'll never get the results.
right.
I'll be good. As
Yeah,
long it's better to not know than know. But I found out that's not.
yeah, but it is so hard on the family, because you may leave, but we're left
Mm-hmm.
behind,
Wow.
to deal with, like, oh, if I just would have pushed them to go, if I would have just made him, and that's a really rough place to be in. I know I felt like that about Collins. I had no idea he was having any heart issues. None of us did,
I didn't. I didn't.
yeah, none
I
of
know
us did.
he complained about his leg and
Hmm.
having to walk with a cane,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, he
I,
never talked about having any heart issues.
he didn't talk to anybody about it, not even
Uh,
Brian.
the only person that had said that, that he did start kind of talking to him about it was Rick Million. Like, he said that because Rick works with so many artists to help
Right.
them get insurances, that I think that's why he started opening up to him. And so it was difficult when we're cleaning out his apartment, and we're going through the paperwork, and I'm looking at the hospital bills, and I can actually tell by what they're billing him for what was going on, because I know, okay, well, if they're giving nitro, if they're giving morphine and oxygen, like I know what that whole little scenario is showing. And then it was like, I'm a nurse and my brother never talked to me about it, so it made me feel some type of way. But I understand that at the end of the day, before I'm a nurse, I'm his little sister, and I know how that is. But we would rather, I say to all the big brothers in the world, we would rather you talk to us and let us know so that we could figure some stuff out than to ever get that phone call saying that you're gone. So, but bro, I am grateful that we was able to sit down and chop it up today, and that I thank you for sharing your history and your story, and and just everything that you do. I'm definitely appreciative that I have so many people that continue to check in with me and check in on me to make sure that I'm okay. I definitely appreciate it. So, anything that we need to be looking out for? What are y'all doing for the 50th celebration in Houston?
I haven't seen much. I don't think they see the 50 years here or recognize it because it's not as internal to them as it is to stay in New York. And because they always tried to, we don't need New York, we don't need New York, we can do it on our own.
That makes sense.
They probably see the birth of hip hop in Houston as like 1985 or so. I don't know. It's weird. Like my dad didn't get down here till '76, so. And I mean, they had DJs down here, but it wasn't as hip hop oriented as the movement that was going on in New York and on the East Coast. So I just don't think they recognize it. They recognize it as being New York's 50th anniversary, I guess.
I got you.
I don't know, because I'm not from here, I don't know their true mindset. But just from what I see, because they just had like Rakim and them were just down here. And Scarface was on the bill with them. But I was doing another show, so I couldn't do that one. But I don't know. It's not weird here. It's just different. They're in a different mind space.
And I can imagine. I could only imagine what that's like.
I'm sure Atlanta's probably going through something similar. Like, we respect New York's 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
But
it's not ours,
To them, hip hop in Atlanta started with JD. So, the social death movement and that whole thing. So, I guess
maybe they
is trying to not distance themselves by the distance that they are, because they were on the heels, even though they didn't really start with. Well, they had rappers because there was stuff we were playing in New York that came from California. A lot of the electro music that started in hip hop came from California. Soul Sonic Force was actually a weird thing for New York. The electro music and the breaking and popping was coming from LA. So they were there. They just weren't there. They weren't on the East Coast. They were still doing the same thing 50 years ago on the West Coast, and we recognized it on the East Coast. So they probably recognized the 50th anniversary, but it's just like Juneteenth, you know, 2 years late, but you know, so they celebrated when they found out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But now we all do.
Right. But you know, it was a big thing here. We're like, what the heck did you? But it was their thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the slave. This is when we were free. The ones who didn't celebrate Juneteenth didn't have another holiday to celebrate because basically we all came free at different times.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't get to Houston for 2 years. It took 2 years to get here to 1865. But so there were dates in South Carolina, in Louisiana, and as the news traveled until it
Mm-hmm.
took 2 years to get to here, there should be dates all along the way of the day the slaves found out they were free,
Mm-hmm.
based on where you were when you were freed. The people in Savannah, Georgia might not have gotten free until 1864, but it might not have been June 19th. It might have been some other random day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
everybody decided Texas is Juneteenth.
Hey, it makes for a great holiday. So here we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, bro, tell the people how they can get in contact with you, be able to see what you got going on when whenever you're doing different things, and how often,
Absolutely.
are you still at the House of Blues working, like, so they could come see you?
3 to 4 times a week. I don't do weekends. I try not to. Try to spend that time with my wife because she works during the week, so I try to work during the week. So yeah, the weekends spend together. I'm DJ Viciously Def 4 on Instagram. I am Lee Robinson on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Oh.
Twitter, but it's MacPack412 on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot.
Okay. Well, I definitely need
What
you.
I'll do is maybe if I'm at a show and it's somebody interesting that I think that people that know me would go, "Ooh, he's at the so," then I'll send something out. Going to be at the last George Clinton show, August 6th. So look out for that.
Okay.
The last show George Clinton's going to do at the House of Blues.
Oh, nice. That'll be a nice show. Dope show.
Did Bone Thugs and Harmony not too long ago, and that's up on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
It came back out.
Okay. That's
So,
pretty
cool. Doing shows.
Doing shows.
If you need beats, I do have a studio too.
Hit him up. He's still doing beats.
Still doing beats.
All right, bro. I appreciate you. I'm gonna let you go, and to everyone listening and watching, definitely thank you for checking out Beats Per Minute podcast, and thank you for all your love and support that you've shown so far. If you want to stay up to date with our latest episodes and whatever events we got coming up, just check us out on social media at beatsperminute.pod. We drop an episode every Thursday, and every last week of the month we do a live Facebook Live Yeah, you can hit us up on social media or email at info@beatsperminute.pod.us. I'm sorry. Yeah, just drop us a line and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, little sister. How are you? Very proud of you and your accomplishments.